Hi, my name is Ryan Higbee, and I would like to try to answer this question: what is one way to find concepts within the benchmarks? It's important when you start to look for concepts within benchmarks that benchmarks are not created equal. Sometimes they are written as concepts, other times knowledge or skill-based. Regardless of how they're written, though, it's important to identify the knowledge, the skill, and the concept related to each benchmark. This is a procedure that I adapted from the work of H. Lynn Erickson, and I have used with the teachers with whom I work. To find concepts within the benchmark, we first read it out loud all together. And when I say all together, we do this collaboratively in grade level teams. Then we ask ourselves, why are we teaching this? It's good to ask this in the safe group of teachers because you know your students will be asking this exact question. Why are we learning this? Or maybe, why do we have to learn this? And then, to come up with a concept, we finish the statement by saying, well, we're teaching this so that the student understands that, and then we finish the statement, and then we check it to make sure that it is taught, timeless, abstract, universal, and transferable. Let me show you an example from a first grade Citizenship Government benchmark. So the benchmark says, explain why and when the Pledge of Allegiance is recited. Provide examples of basic flag etiquette. This to me would be a knowledge and also maybe a skill-based benchmark because we want students to be able to know why we recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and we want them to be able to know basic flag etiquette, but we also want them to do that. Put their hand over their heart, stand up, look at the flag, those sorts of things. So to find the concept within that, I would ask, why are we teaching this? One idea might be so that the student understands that individuals can show respect through action, or they could demonstrate loyalty through action. To go broader or more abstract, you could say the student understands that actions can communicate ideas. Then it's important to always check, is our concept statement timeless, abstract, universal, and transferable? I think I could say yes to all of those, and then depending on what my goal was, I would want to pick one of those statements depending on the level of abstractness. Again, I'm working with first graders, so it might be more important to talk about the individuals can demonstrate loyalty through actions. Or you might even want to say citizens can demonstrate loyalty through actions, depending on the level of abstractness you want. Here's another example. This one comes from geography in third grade. The benchmark wants students to be able to use maps and concepts of location in order to describe different places in their lives. So why are we teaching this? Well, maybe we want the students to understand that maps help us to understand the places where people live. Again, to pull out to a different level of abstractness, you could say, well, we want students to understand that maps help to understand places. Or even further abstract, we could say the student understands that tools make our lives easier. Map is one of the tools, but then we could also talk about other tools that help our lives. Then again, we want to make sure, is our statement taught? T-A-U-T. Timeless, abstract, universal, and transferable. What do you think? Here's the last example of being able to create concept statements. This comes from history in fifth grade. We want to be able to identify major conflicts between colonies in England following the 7 Years' War, and we want students to be able to explain how these conflicts led to the American Revolution. Why are we teaching this? Maybe so that students can understand that conflict leads to change. Again, we want to make sure to test our statement. Is the idea that conflict leads to change timeless, abstract, universal, and transferable? It's also important to ask ourselves, is this always true? Are there times in which conflict doesn't lead to change? But rather than asking ourselves just as teachers, it's important to ask that question of students to help them grapple with that concept. So again, what is one way to find concepts within benchmarks? Well, my idea would be to read the benchmark and ask, why are we teaching this? To answer, we want to begin with this statement so that the students understand that, and then test to make sure that the statement is timeless, abstract, universal, and transferable.